I am unmuted now. Sorry about that, guys. Welcome to the Screen Time Continuum. It is Sunday. We are here to review the 2022 movie Amsterdam. My name is Keelan, and I am here with Nick. What's going on, brother?
Hey man, happy Sunday. I'm well. How are you?
Happy Sunday. I'm well. I'm doing a
All
lot better
right.
now. Not sure exactly what that was.
All
Um,
right.
at first I thought it was the mic, and then I'm like, wait, I don't think that's my mic. I think that's me. But overall, I am doing well. Interested to discuss this movie Amsterdam with you, mostly because it's definitely not what I thought when I heard the name Amsterdam. Um, but hey, I mean, whatever is what we expect it to be at this point.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's really how to start this for me. But yeah, the movie Amsterdam again came out in 2022 on Google. It is categorized as a mystery comedy. On Netflix, it is categorized as a mystery drama. But either way, it is a mystery, and that much I definitely agree with. It has a 2 hour and 14 minute run. The cast is Margot Robbie, Christian Bale, a cameo by Taylor Swift, Rami Malek, Anna Taylor Joy, John David Washington. You also get Zoe Saldana, Michael Shannon, Robert De Niro, Mike Myers, a bunch of other players just kind of strolling in and out of this film. It's actually riddled with people. I mean, you'll see even I know Chris Rock and Tom Irwin are also in it. So expect to see a lot of popular faces if you haven't seen this movie. It's been out for quite some time, about October of last year, so I don't think we need to do any spoilers. But for those of you who haven't seen it, you know what to do. If you have seen it, I mean, hey, you're probably already typing up how you felt about this movie, what you thought about this movie, and by all means, stick around for this ride of us telling you what we thought about it. It is directed by David O. Russell. It is a 20th Century Studios distribution, and David O. Russell also did the screenplay. It is rooted in some true facts. Um, a lot of true facts that you probably wouldn't really believe are true facts, actually. But a lot of this movie is fiction. It takes some true facts, some speculated facts, and it fictionalizes everything else. I think you can max it out at 5 facts, actually, maximum. Yeah. With that being said, let's see. Oh, yes, the plot. This movie follows three friends, a doctor, a lawyer, and a nurse, through their journey of meeting one another, growing as friends, growing as people. The world ages around them, things happen, and they stumble into a mystery plot that they fortunately are able to kind of help thwart. I think that's a great way for me to explain that. That's actually off the top of my head. That has nothing to do with the way they tell you on Google. Short version, I'll give you Google, and then I will ask Nick what are his first thoughts. Um, Google says following three friends who witness a murder become suspects themselves and uncover one of the most outrageous plots in American history. Okay, well, I guess the murder is kind of the catalyst to the unthwarting of plots. With that being said, Nick, what did you think of the 2022 movie Amsterdam?
Hmm. Well, by first blush, you would see this movie as maybe a sort of indulgent project because of how many people are in it.
Hmm.
It's one of those movies where you're like, let's throw everybody in there, and
Everybody.
I kind of feel like that's what they focused a little bit too much on and less on developing a story. Um, the movie's not terrible, but I do feel like I was being told everything and almost really didn't get I don't know. There was something about it where I just didn't feel like I was actually experiencing a story. I was more like witnessing a screenplay or yeah, I don't think that the a lot of the dialogue was embodied by the actors. I felt like there was a lot of moments where the dialogue was sort of rapid fire and one character would say one thing and the other person would say something back, and sometimes it would be related to what the character was saying, sometimes it wasn't. It almost felt like sometimes the actors didn't even absorb the emotion that they're supposed to be playing in. It's all delivered very quickly without a whole lot of feeling to it, and maybe that's a choice stylistically as a director you might make. But to me, it did feel just a little bit self-indulgent. I feel like if you're going to have a movie like this, let's go all out and go really crazy on cinematography, really crazy on shots and cameos and stuff like that. And, then fine, let's make it a spectacle. But I just don't feel like this, for something as star studded as this, set pieces were decent, but the cinematography wasn't that good. I know that really surprised me. So it's first impressions for me is that it's a decent movie, but it's not something that I would be like, oh, go watch.
Right, I get that. Yeah, I think this movie reads like. Oh wow, reads like. I think this movie comes off as a. Wow, I just realized where the comedy is. The comedy is in the style choice. Yeah, the comedy of this movie is in the style choice. This movie comes off to me like a long SNL skit or sketch without the jokes. Like
Yeah.
the real style, the way it jumps out at you, everything is like matter of fact. It's almost like listening to an audiobook and watching some like if I'm listening to an audiobook, but someone is acting out what the audiobook is saying in front of me, you get this movie. And I don't think it's a bad thing either. I actually enjoyed this movie rather. Um I liked the style. I liked the way the story was delivered. But I also agree with you that it was all kind of hand fed to you. Like even when you thought you were gonna get a little confused or it was like, oh man, what's going on here? Like two scenes later, they literally had it on a silver platter for you. Like, oh, this is what's going on here. Here you go. It's in fact, Mike Myers is in this movie, and it reminded me of most Mike Myers movies when I think of it just now. Most Mike Myers movies are extreme comedies, but you don't have to do too much guessing. At some point in the movie, they're going to tell you exactly what this one particular moment was about. And that goes from Wayne's World to the TV show he had on Netflix, The Pentaveret. Just timeline wise, everything he's done kind of works out that way. And this movie comes off that way as well. But
Do you
I
think
like
this is the prequel to his character in Inglorious Bastards?
maybe I think this
This is
movie could
kind of the
tie
same
into a
kind of
lot of
character.
different. Yeah, I think this movie could tie into a few different movies or a few different situations that could be movies. I guess.
Big Mike
Um,
said he didn't finish it.
I understand it's 2 hours. For some people, this may not be a sit one through movie for sure. I like dumb comedies. Again, I didn't get the comedy of this really. Didn't laugh a lot, but it kept me engaged. It kept me wondering, like, all right, what are they gonna do next? It was, and that's why I say, I guess I do understand the comedy, and the comedy was more in the style than them just having flat out jokes.
Mm-hmm. It
You
was
know,
funny when Taylor Swift got pushed under a car.
it was
That was
funny
pretty funny.
that Taylor Swift was the character in general.
Yeah, not a very good actress. You could tell.
She did good enough for the situation she
Well,
was
yeah,
in.
of course. She got acted well enough to get pushed under a car. I get it. Yeah.
I think it was funny you say that just because I thought too, I was like, she wasn't that great of an actress, but it was like, but what was she given? Oh, ask a question, wait two scenes, they come back, they see you, you run out of the restaurant, you get across the street, you answer their question, somebody comes, pushes you into the middle of the road, you playfully fall because you didn't want to pay for a stunt double.
Yeah, there's a lot of line stepping on this. So I could tell she was one of the most blatant instances of like line stepping that I felt in the movie was
What do you mean?
line stepping is like when the character says something, the other character responds way too fast for
Oh,
it to feel
right.
like a natural response. It's like they're responding in with the line just rapid fire back. She did that almost the entire time she was on screen. Whereas like a character would say something to her, and by the time they were finishing the sentence, she was already answering them,
No
which
thought
is not how
process.
normal people talk.
Right.
They don't talk like that.
Yes,
So
they do, Nick.
yeah, okay, fair enough.
I couldn't do it for a whole episode. Yeah, I don't. I get it. Big Mike, what up, Big Mike? Big Mike says favorite part is when she died. I mean, that's pretty early in the movie for a favorite part.
He did.
It's
He said he didn't. He didn't finish it. So.
That's fair enough. That's fair
Hmm.
enough. Yeah, for me, that's actually her being in the movie is so forgettable that what if I'm being honest, when I saw Margot Robbie, Taylor Swift, and what's her name, Anna Taylor Joy, all in the same movie, I was like, one of the three of them are not in this movie. That's literally what I thought to myself. I was like, no, this is a Google error. One of the three of them aren't in this movie. And Margot Robbie's character does, or Margot Robbie's tab doesn't have a character name. So I was assuming like, oh, she's not in the movie. But I was mistaken. All three of them are in this movie. And
Hmm.
only, well, I guess I'll take two of the three should be in this movie. As I said, I thought one of them wasn't in this movie. One of them could have not been in this movie.
Yeah, was honestly surprised that I didn't see any more. I didn't see more pretty shots. Again, the time and the sort of set dressing that they had. I don't know. I just didn't see a lot of stunning shots, and that kind of
Yeah.
surprised me a little bit.
It's not as period driven as the critics made you believe or lead you to think. Because that's something that's noted. You know, it's a period driven, thrilling, atmospheric, and playful mystery comedy. I didn't read all that in one place. I just threw it all together. But
Right.
yeah, I didn't see it. I saw some interesting shots. I saw some interesting choices. Uh, None even really worth discussing. One of the biggest things to me, and I guess one of the reasons it came off also like a long SNL play, minus the jokes. David or Michael David, what's his name again? Michael David Washington? David Michael Washington?
John David
John David
Washington.
Washington, right? John David.
Hmm.
Where did I get
John
Michael from?
David. Yeah. I
Sorry.
don't know.
Um, John David Washington, he looked a lot like Michael Red, the comedian, to me in this.
Yeah, I
Or
feel
oh,
like
whoa, Mike,
he.
why do Michael Red is a basketball player? Chris Red, Chris
All right.
Red, the SNL comedian. Sorry,
Oh, okay.
or actor.
Yeah, I feel like I need to see him in something that isn't Tenet and this because I don't have a very high opinion of his acting at this moment.
um,
What else
I'm
is
not
he
even
in?
gonna ask those questions. What's that one movie with him and Zendaya, Malcolm and Marie, Tenet,
Hmm.
the Black Klansman? I
Oh,
know he's in the
okay.
Black Klansman. Um,
Better at comedic stuff.
they say he was in the 1992 Malcolm X movie.
Huh. Maybe as a kid. I mean, it
Oh,
was his
I'm
dad.
sure.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure that movie as a kid.
Yeah. 1992. I don't know
Yeah,
how old he is. Is he in
he's like
his 30s?
40 something probably.
Oh, wow.
You know what? Let me just Google it. What am I doing? It's not like
Right.
he's 38. My
Oh,
apologies. He's
okay.
38.
Gotcha.
So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
that would definitely be as a kid.
I don't necessarily think it was his fault, but I just don't feel like there didn't feel like there was a whole lot of depth to his character. I don't
Mm.
know why. I think they just didn't really give a lot for him to be. You know what I mean? Like we go deep into Margot Robbie's character, we go deep into Christian Bale's character, but they don't really
Oh,
go deep
Harold, you
into
mean?
into
I
his
don't think it's.
character.
Yeah, I don't think there's much depth you need to get into Harold's character, especially considering the times of when we are.
Well, I
Um,
mean, you would think that that would be a good reason to get into some of the depth of his character. I mean, we know
well,
all about Christian Bale and Margot Robbie, but we know very little about Harold.
what I mean is, okay, so let's just get into the characters. We haven't even started all that. So we're in 1933 and we're meeting all the characters. So you have let's first get Harold out the way since we're talking about Harold first. Um, Harold has kind of achieved everything that a black man can in the 1930s in America. Um, he's been in the military. He's been to Amsterdam and spent his couple of years frolicking with a white woman. It is what it is.
Hmm.
He returned to America and became a lawyer. And now his best friend, who's also a military veteran, has him basically on what did they call it? Park Place, wasn't it? Or New, I
Yeah,
forget.
Park Place in New York.
Yeah, Park Place, New York. So and he's accepted around there, not per se for doing business, but they don't necessarily bat an eye when they see him walking down the street. So in my humble opinion, not saying that that's all a black man should want, but back in those days for the this era driven piece that we're supposed to be watching, what more did we need to know? We knew he wasn't married, and we knew that he was in love with Valerie, and that was the only person he wanted to be with. Now we didn't know that at first, but once
Yeah,
we knew
I
that,
get what you're saying, but
all the questions were gone.
I don't know. I mean, like that's fair enough, but you could say that about Christian Bale or Margot Robbie's character. They still gave us a little bit more about them than they did with Harold, which I think is odd.
I understand, and I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying as well. Because, like, for instance, I thought to myself, why don't we know about Harold's parents? And then I thought about how old Harold was in the 30s. He's already in his mid 40s. Harold's parents were slaves.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, but what I mean is that Christian Bale's character is a doctor on Park Place, and he, helps veterans, and his or his in-laws don't approve of him, and his wife doesn't really love him. Margot Robbie is this rich American woman that flees to France to work on, soldiers, that makes art out of shrapnel, that's being drugged by her brother. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Right.
more to know about both of those characters than there is about Harold.
Right. Okay. So let's see. What do we know about Harold? Harold is a
A
veteran.
lawyer,
He's a
veteran,
lawyer.
and he's in
Uh,
love with the
well,
girl.
he's Bert's partner, so he runs all the insurance and the case side of all of the clients that Bert has.
Well, we don't really see that. We hear that.
We don't see that, but we hear it
Yeah.
twice. Twice, yeah. Because
Yeah.
the whole point in the whole situation with and this is why I say he's accepted. Like nobody bats an eye at him being a lawyer on Park Place. Because when it comes to like, oh well, if Harold can just produce the paperwork showing that, Miss Meekins was his client, then we'll just let it go. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I get it. All I'm saying is that they didn't
I'm with you.
develop his character
I
very
agree.
much.
I'm not
Yeah.
disagreeing. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just
Um,
trying to. I for what you're saying, I'm trying to see what is it that we do know about Harold because I see what
mm,
you're saying. I think
not a
we
whole
have
lot.
about 4 or 5 bullet points for Bert and Valerie each, and we only have about three
We know the least
for
about Harold than of the
Harold.
three. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And if what Christian Bale's character is getting kicked out of Park Place because he's practicing on
because his in-laws are racist.
veterans and stuff,
He has black friends.
right?
They don't care about the veterans. They give money to
No,
the
of course they
veterans.
don't. Yeah,
It's the black and Spanish because that was the part that got me is you never once saw Bert treating any of the white veterans.
he did at the beginning.
Oh, okay. I missed that part. My mistake.
Yeah, he
Well,
was
no, 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 no. I'm
reconstructing one of
sorry.
the
In New
dude's
York.
faces. Yeah.
In New York,
Oh,
though.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean
In the
in New York.
alleyway, maybe.
No,
I
not in
don't
the
know.
alleyway. Before they kicked, like you never. What I'm saying is, there was a point in time where they were allowing him to do work. You never saw him bringing in a Caucasian patient here and there, and then another patient here and there, and then they got fed up, and it was like, no, it was just the first people you saw him walk in with was the black and the Spanish dude, and they like, fuck out of here.
Yeah.
I was just curious, like, did he not consort with the Caucasian veterans?
No, he did that after he came back from the war because he was paired up with the black troop, and so
Right.
he
So I'm
became
thinking that was
friends
his
with.
priority.
Well, he just became friends with black people, which he probably didn't have any black friends before he went to war. And then when he came back
That's
from war,
true.
he was helping his friends, and then he saw that his in-laws were racist and didn't want black people on their
Yeah.
block
I'm
or
thinking he
whatever it
had
is.
no friends before the war, so I get
Probably
you.
not.
That's
He didn't
funny.
seem like he had a lot of friends.
That's
So
so funny. That look, talk about the parts you didn't put together when you was watching the movie. Like maybe this dude didn't have no friends in general. And what you're saying is so valid. Like, his only friend group. Like, yeah, yeah.
technically, yeah.
See how that went down.
Hmm.
Dang, Bert. Bert was kind of a loser though. So yeah, the movie begins in 1933, and we see, as we just discussed, Bert, who is a doctor. He reconstructs face. His business partner is lawyer. Excuse me. His business partner is Harold, who is a lawyer and is a black man. Um, but they basically are called to do an autopsy on General Meekins, who was their general while they were in the military. In fact, the guy who introduced them to one another. Which, after we get a brief autopsy, in which case we're introduced to Irma, and then we see Elizabeth Meekins, who's General Meekins' daughter, get killed. That is when we see the two of these men meet. We see General Meekins in his heyday, and we begin to understand what we're watching when it comes to these two men and their friendship and why they have a friendship. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much where we begin everything. Oh, and we also saw at the beginning that Elizabeth Meekins knew that her father knew something, but didn't know what he knew. The only thing she knew was the name Vose, and that essentially leads these gentlemen down a rabbit hole that first they see her get murdered, and then they start meeting people that they never should have met a day in their lives. Oh, and seeing people that they should have never seen on this side of the line, because should have left her in the past.
Who?
That's just me. Hmm?
Who? Who are you talking about?
Valerie. Valerie.
What about her?
Harold.
Valerie's
They could have
the
left
chick.
the past. Well, I guess no, no. I have to take that back. They couldn't have left her in the past because they also kind of end up saving her.
Well, Valerie is the only reason that Bert gets out of jail because she's got a rich
She is
family.
the yeah. She's the reason he. You know what? I forgot about the Amsterdam situation. So what does happen? Actually, no, we haven't discussed that yet because I'm in 1933 still. So we go back to 1913 where they meet one another. We see them get hit by, I guess, a grenade and shrapnel tears up their back, and Bert loses an eye. This is where they meet Valerie, and excuse me, Harold and Valerie essentially fall in love when Valerie is taking the shrapnel from the bodies and she keeps it, but they are in France. Yeah, so the French government, for whatever reason, doesn't want her to keep it. They think it's grotesque, and they argue. They argue. The soldiers take her side because they're all rallying behind Harold, and that's really what we're seeing in 1913. We see them all meet. We find out about the friendship pack. Um, yeah, what else happens as they're all meeting before?
Nothing. They decide to go to Amsterdam after that.
Yeah, you're right. They get all
That's pretty
healthy and then
much
they
it.
decide to go to Amsterdam. Oh, they get healthy and Bert needs an eye. That is when they are introduced to Paul Cattenberry, the glass man, for Cattenberry Glass, aka MI6,
The feds.
and right, and Henry Norcross, who also works for US Naval Intelligence. As Nick just said, they meet the feds.
Hmm.
Um, so they essentially find out that Valerie is also a spy, which made me wonder, why didn't we get more of that in the movie?
It's a good question because it's only really to connect the espionage esque mission to everything. So, like, they wouldn't be involved in any of this if Valerie wasn't a spy.
Right. If she wasn't working for them, you're
Yeah.
right. She would. They never would have met.
No.
Um. So yeah, Bert's locked up. Valerie has to go home and leave her love journey with Harold, and she just leaves out of the blue because she doesn't want to be left. She'd rather be the one to leave. Nobody hears from her, but Bert does get out of jail. Harold returns home, becomes a lawyer, and we fast forward to 1934. Um, I think it's crazy because we find out also that Bert was kind of like the charity case scholarship kid, right? I wouldn't say he was a charity case because you have to work for scholarships and grants, but he was the hardworking school kid that just wanted to be a doctor. He meets this girl while he's in med school. Come to find out, she is the daughter of the guy who gave him the scholarship. Why he still decided to marry her, who the hell knows? But he did, and they end up not only getting married. Her father forces him to go to the military because he has to be a man. Whatever.
Yeah,
I mean, the military part, I'm
because
not
it's
necessarily
respectable.
against. Yeah, I'm not necessarily against it, but doing it because that dude said so or any, nah, that part I have a problem with.
Hmm.
But either way, they start to follow the clues to find out who Tom Vose is, and essentially they run into Valerie. Um,
Yeah, that's her brother.
yeah, which is when I would have been like, hell no. Listen, something was off from the moment you walked in that house, and I don't know how they didn't smell it. They supposed to be detectives and
Yeah. Well, when it's in the Weimar Republic era and he's got like a little Hitler stash, you might want
young.
to you might want to, raise some red flags there.
Man, I was personally like, yeah, he's the bad. The moment we saw Tom, I'm like, he's the bad guy. And Libby
Hmm.
was Elizabeth, Libby, yeah, also
Mm.
she's the bad guy. Like their energy was nasty from the beginning, and
Oh
it
yeah.
only got worse as time progressed.
If you like this type of stuff in this era with the same sort of themage, you should watch Peaky Blinders because Anya Taylor Joy's in that too,
Hmm.
and it's about the rise of communism and fascism between World War I and World War II.
Oh,
It's
right
pretty
before all
good.
of this goes down, basically.
Pretty much, yeah. Or during, yeah, the last season of Peaky Blinders would have been around about
This
this
time,
time. Yeah.
crazy, yeah, because this movie journeys basically 1913, skip that 20 years until about 1940.
33.
Well, no, that's when it starts. That's kind of when we really start. 933 through 40. I think it's like 40, something like that. Thinking about them doing everything, meeting everything, finding everybody, and then yeah, sorry, I'm all the way at the end of the movie now, trying to remember why I thought to myself this is around like right after Hitler at that point because Hitler was like 39. No,
No, well, I mean, the World War I or II happened between, I think, 38 and 45 or 39 and 45.
okay, so this was the back end probably. Anyway,
No, this is before the rise of Hitler because when they leave at the end, Mike Myers says, "This will be the one place where the Stasi won't come to you." And they say, "What's the Stasi?" And they
oh yeah,
say,
the
"You don't want to
Gestapo.
know." Or Gestapo. There you go. The
Yeah.
Gestapo. Yeah. So the Gestapo is like Weimar Republic Germany, the secret police, the rise of Hitler. So it's right before Hitler
Okay, so
comes
this
into
is
power.
the right. Okay, okay. But yeah, no. So that would be because that happened mid World War II, right?
No, no, no. World War II happens because Hitler takes power and then invades Poland.
Facts.
Yeah.
Things you know and forget, and you start making up history yourself.
Mhm.
Because I'm really sitting here like, no, that's not how that went down. Like, no, that's how that went down. Happened long enough ago. Um. All right, so they follow the clues. They find Valerie. Valerie is sick, and she helps them either way. We actually start to find out that Valerie is not sick. She's being drugged by her brother, who's not a very nice boy. But
Mm-mm.
everybody thinks Tom's a nice guy because he is auspiciously well spoken and he tries to help everyone. It seems to me as if Tom is in charge of media in some way.
Yeah.
Radio at that point because I don't think we had gotten to television yet, or we were just getting into television, probably, possibly.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure what he did, but it's yeah.
Well, I'm sure he worked in media in some way because he was talking about getting him into um, on the radio and the waves and everybody hearing him and all of that. He
Mm,
was very adamant about that. And then, as I'll speak about in a minute, I kind of started noting the things they were talking about. The five hands worked in to kind of get an understanding of what they were trying to hint at there.
mm-hmm.
But yeah. Uh, Oh yeah, they end up going back to meet with their benefactors, aka Paul Canterbury and Henry Norcross, who also are aware of but have not brung up the Committee of the Five. And at this point, everybody knows of the Committee of the Five. We have not even told you, the viewer, about the Committee of the Five. The Committee of the Five is an organization that runs sterilization clinics, and they have a plot to rule the world. And at this point, we're not sure, but we believe that General Meekins was possibly a part of it. But we do come to find out that he was to be the fifth member of the Committee of the Five until he was murdered. I wonder by who.
Probably the five.
For
Yeah,
sure.
no, I think he came across them and realized what they were doing, and that's why he was murdered.
Oh no, he definitely was actually going to be the fifth member because remember that story of him riding in the car with Mussolini, right?
Mm-hmm.
The act of Mussolini running over the child, I think, is what made him not want to
Well,
partner
he
and
wanted to
sign
go
with them.
public with that.
Right, because
That's why Robert De Niro says it in the speech.
right, and I believe that what was going on there is he was becoming friends with him because it was kind of like, okay, you guys get this section, we get this section, kind of like a supervillain plot in most movies, like, okay, well, you're going to take over this territory, I'm going to take over this territory, type of a deal, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that he was there to learn from him.
Yeah,
And then
maybe.
when that happened,
Yeah,
it was like,
it's
hold on
possible.
now, I don't want to be like this.
Yeah, possible. Yeah, it's the
That
rise
also
of the
was quick.
fascist movement, right after sort of the rise of communism, which is really kind of that's what happens is that the rise of communism happens in the 1910s, and then the reaction to communism creates fascism. Um, and yeah, that's where we're starting to see this is that the five is very interested in Mussolini because he's a fascist dictator in Italy. They also may have their eyes on a man in Germany as well.
A young
And
Hitler.
they see it as an opportunity to sort of take dominance of the world by spreading eugenics, like Big Mike says in the comments here. Um, and yeah, basically trying to ethnically cleanse the earth through sterilization, which is the true part of this story. This
Hmm.
happened in the 1920s and 30s, and it was actually a big thing. It was a very
Hmm.
big deal. And so much so that there were sterilization clinics all over the place. If you were considered as much of as little as even an irresponsible person, you could
Yeah.
be sterilized. And yeah, even if there were even lobotomy clinics where people
Hmm.
lined up for blocks on end to get an ice pick up their occipital bone.
They were told they needed it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, she's not
Yeah,
in this mic.
no, she's not in the movie, but she's a
But in
part of the
the oh
movement.
yeah, 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 part
Yes,
of the movement.
yes,
But I
yeah.
thought he was saying in the movie because he didn't get to finish it.
Yeah, that's an ugly truth that we don't really talk about in our history as much.
Yeah,
We don't really talk about the eugenics movement as much because, well, never
it's kind
mind.
of still happening.
Yeah, because maybe some people still believe in it.
Look, I'm like I can finish that statement for you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, because it's still prominent.
right.
Yeah, some of these things, and that's why I topped that off at the beginning of the movie. That some of these things are real. I say again about five facts in this. And none of them, most of them are still kind of happening. This was not long enough ago, wasn't even 100 years ago. This wasn't long enough ago for all of the effects of that true parts of this to have deteriorated because they haven't. Some of them are actually kind of making a turnaround and a comeback like a freaking boomerang. But hey, look,
Mhm.
I stopped myself from using that other F word.
Society is cyclical, man. We just repeat the same stuff over and over again.
I was just having a discussion about that.
Hmm.
The cycles are not friendly to life, anyone's, in fact. Um, but yeah, so this movie again is about a dictatorship built on American business. And let's see, what was the
Well, and the
next?
committee of the five is technically,
A cabal.
yeah, a cabal, but also there was a committee of the five, most
Oh yeah, the
notably
real
people
name.
like Henry Ford and I think J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, there were a
Um,
couple of people in it. I'm trying to find. I had the actual name, like the real name of the committee written down, and I don't know where I wrote it.
oh yeah.
I have too many notes on here. It's a tragic death of life.
But yeah, we definitely have to also remember that there were many big businesses. You know, like that. America likes to repaint its sort of stance on World War II.
Hmm.
But pre World War II, there were many, many, many powerful people that were all aboard uh, the train of eugenics and fascism and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, because
They were very much.
it was seen as normal. It was seen as just this new cool
Well,
wave that
it
some
was
people
seen
were a
as the
part of.
height of industry.
Hmm.
That's the thing. It's the high. It was seen as the height of productivity and industry. Only have the best people and have the best and manufacturing and it's efficient and all of that stuff. So yeah,
I cannot find the actual name of this committee. But if you guys go, again, if you go and look up just the history or the truth on this movie, Amsterdam, you'll go down a rabbit hole, believe you me, because there are some tie-ins that'll have you like, wait, what? That's real? What is that? Then you look into that next thing, and next thing you know, you're watching about 2 days worth of videos. Um,
yeah. That's why I like Peaky Blinders because there are characters that are based off of real historical figures
mhm.
in the show. And yeah, I think one of the last seasons dealt with something kind of like this with a guy named Ted Mosley, and um, and he was like a very prominent fascist that was trying to bring fascism to America.
Mm. I
Yeah.
mean, hey, uh, never mind. We know we could talk about that for a couple of times of all the different things that could possibly be coming and happening.
Mm.
Um, but the cabal, there's always a cabal, isn't it? Uh, they go to see the general, excuse me, not the cabal, but the cabal has sent a gentleman named Mr. McGuire to sit and talk to the general. But at this point, you have Bert and Harold and Valerie, and they believe that they are able to convince the general to come to their event and speak because they'll get the most accreditation that way. But now they are being asked by their handlers to try to get the good general to speak on their behalf, which made me think Norcross and what was the other guy's name? Dillenberry, Paul and Henry, Norcross and Canterbury. I think they might have been playing both sides as most governmental powers would.
Well,
Just
I don't know 100%. It doesn't seem like they. It seems their position was to thwart the sort of bubbling up of the populism that was happening within the what was it the what union was it?
uh
Was it the steel workers or
some union. But and that's why I wanted to get the real name. It was something nation or something like that.
mm,
Yeah. I'm not gonna act like I remember it, but yeah, yeah. Yeah, their point was possibly to thwart an uprise. That's possible, so that they could stay in charge because they're the sectors that they work for. Those private sectors are the ones that are currently running the world at this point.
yeah, yeah. Well, and they're supposed to represent the white hats that are trying to keep fascism away, right?
Hmm. Yes,
Um,
sure.
yeah.
um, but so they go to see General Dillenbeck, and General Dillenbeck is not really on board with doing this speech thing for anybody or really meeting with anybody. But then he discusses Mr. McGuire, who's the gentleman who's in his lobby or in his atrium, has been coming once a month with a bag of money trying to get General Dillenbeck to go and speak somewhere. And after Henry tells him that he is representing the Committee of Five and this is what they want, he goes out, talks to him, finds out that what Henry and Harold and Valerie told him is true. They also sang the nonsense song, which they had to sing the nonsense song in order for him to remember who they were. The nonsense song. I thought that was fun, but
I guess.
it had a pretty inapt name because it's nonsense. But from a friend stance, like a creative stance, I understand. I can see how that could be fun. But having to do that twice in this movie, why? Why?
I don't know. It's a
How?
callback, I guess.
Yeah, sure, whatever. Hey, remember the old guy who you are. Sing for him. Do a dance. Shake a leg.
Hmm.
Um, that's what it felt like to me. I'm sorry.
That's how people recognize each other from back in the day. It's like, oh, we saw each other 10 years ago. Oh, yeah, sing for me.
Right. It's like, nah, what I saw was he saw a lady, a black man, and a cripple walk in, and he said, "Sing for me." Ah, yeah, I know who you are. All right, cool, cool. You guys are cool. You're past the cool test. I'm in charge. Call me General. So they meet Dylan Beck. They convince Dylan Beck to join, and he's on board now. But he knew this was gonna be rough. He knew it was a tough job when he took it. But he's in now, and even the police are down, which made it weird. Why did they need the police on their side?
Well, because everybody's against fascism, man. It's a Hollywood. I mean, this
Okay,
is a
that's
Hollywood
a good
movie.
point. Yeah, yeah.
They love fighting fascists in Hollywood. That's like their favorite thing. So everybody everybody's on board.
Hmm. That is a point that probably should be talked about on a different episode.
Or a different show.
Oh yeah, more so a different show. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, but so we get to the Veterans Gala because Dylan Beck's agreed to go and everybody's on board, and everybody's telling Dylan Beck, including Nora Cross and Cattenberry, everybody's telling them, tell your speech, give it your way. We know you're gonna do the right thing because you're the man, man, you man, do it, man. And personally, I'm getting annoyed with them telling him what to say and how to feel, and he's made it
I,
very
I
clear that they
I
have no
also
say
don't
on that.
know why one speech from a dude would be like the make or break, I guess. But I guess they're trying to say like, oh, this guy in Hitler's making a whole bunch of speeches and everybody's turning fascists. So we need to make a good speech so that people don't become fascists.
Right. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. To me, it seems like that's what history is built on, a good speech.
Yeah, it can be. It can be, I guess. But I mean, the speech wasn't that good anyways.
Fair.
I don't remember anything from the speech.
It was a real
So
life speech, though. So, I mean, I guess we got to do a little homework.
I still don't remember anything from the speech. So
I remember one thing about the speech,
mm,
it was factual, and the message was spooky.
mm,
That's it. I mean, we get the gist of it, the points of it. Either way,
yeah.
at the Veterans Gala, we meet the Committee of the Five. They are revealed. Canterbury and Norcross, um, in my opinion, at this point, could have been a part of the cabal, but you made a fair point as to why they wouldn't be. And we learned that Tom, in this moment, is when we actually learned that Tom is a member, and Valerie had absolutely no clue. As things play out from top to bottom, we find that out. But then we also learned that Elizabeth, wait, oh yes, Elizabeth's parents are straight assholes, and they don't like Bert. And it's turned her into a cold, nasty person that doesn't like Bert because he has scars and all of these things. Bert grows a sack and he leaves his wife, or whatever you want to call that, because that wasn't a
Mm-mm.
marriage.
Yeah. Wasn't much of anything really. They
I
didn't
don't even
even
know if that
live
was a
together.
friendship. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what was going on there, but
Yeah.
Bert, dealt with it for X amount of years until this day when he decided not to. And when you think about it, had he never decided to begin with, and he just took their money from the scholarship and went on with his life, he wouldn't be paralyzed or any of that. But maybe he wouldn't be living such a thrilling life.
Or maybe.
Would never met Irma.
Right. That's true. That's true. Hold on just one sec. I'll be right back.
Hmm. So as we go through that, guys, let's think. Where are we at? We talked about Harold. We talked about uh, I forget his name just now. Harold's best friend in this movie, his name is Bert. I wanted to call him Tom. But we talked about Harold and we talked about Bert and how they got to this point. But Nick did make a good point as we have gotten to this point in the story. I realized there's not much about Harold we've said. Um, One of Harold's best friends, who actually seems to be an older guy, was Milton. Milton was played by Chris Rock. Chris Rock had a lot of really cool, funny lines. Nah, I wouldn't say cool, but he had a lot of funny, pivotal lines that were very calling of the age and the era. For instance, when Harold first meets Valerie and he walks off into the back room with her, it's Milton who shouts out, "Boy, if them crackers from Mississippi could see you now." A little bit later, Milton is the one who walks in when they have General Meekins in the box, and he's like, Is that a white man in a box? Not a coffin, but a box in the middle of a room with two black men and a white." Like, Milton was the continuous callback of the era, continuously making sure you remember, like, hey, Harold's black, and he ain't supposed to be in a lot of these situations. I don't think there was enough Milton. I don't think there was enough of that interaction. So what I was doing, Nick, is I was actually calling back to when you brung up how we didn't get a lot on Harold, and as we got to this point in the movie, I realized what you mean. And it wasn't so much as they didn't give a backstory; they didn't give you a story on Harold.
Mm.
Um, and you're absolutely right. I don't think
Yeah,
I
he's
even
just in
realized
love with Margot Robbie. That's it.
they're all in love with Margot Robbie. Apparently,
He didn't even have a hobby. They couldn't give him a hobby.
shoot,
Like he didn't have anything that added to his character. That's kind of what
dang,
I meant, like character depth, maybe.
yeah, he did it. That's you know what. In fact, that's what made it weird to me that Valerie and Bert didn't fall in love because Bert does the faces and Valerie does the photography and all of these things, and she does all the shrapnel. So it made
Right.
sense
Yeah, well, and they're both doctors or in the medical
in the
field. I
medical
guess that
field.
would make
Yeah,
sense. But I mean, you could have given Harold a hobby that they were in Amsterdam. You could have like made him really interested in photography or
could have played a saxophone or something.
painting or you know what I mean, like just anything. He could have learned
Electric
anything.
guitar was a thing by then, wasn't it?
I mean, hey, any guitar would have worked.
Mhm.
You know,
Play a band. He could have
a
played the
flute. He could
jug.
have played a flute. You know.
He'd just been sitting there, "Whoop, whoop, whoop,
Just anything that would
whoop."
have made him, I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah, just give us some more information about him.
No, you're absolutely right. And yeah, didn't really catch that at first. Um so yeah, Tom decides after they have the meeting with uh the three men that worked in, I can't even remember their names, but I know one worked in
3/5.
chemicals. Yeah, 3/5 of the cabal, because we don't know, but this is when we realize that Tom is the fourth member of the cabal and Meekins would have been the fifth. No, actually, so you're right. Meekins was approached by them. The fifth
Yes.
is actually the automotive guy.
Yes, who's not there. It was supposed to be
Yeah,
Henry Ford.
who's supposed to be Henry Ford, right? Which
Hmm.
Mike believes that Christian Bale played Henry Ford. I'm thinking he means in a different movie.
I think in Ford versus Ferrari.
You're right. He does play. Yeah, he's right. That's what
I
he
think so.
means.
Hmm.
Yeah. Irony. Irony. It's
Maybe.
funny how see this is what happens, Hollywood.
Coincidence.
Stop recycling your actor.
Yeah, that's true. That's
Just
true.
give other people a chance, darn it.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, Tom decides to give some friendly advice to General Dylan Beck, which anyone can see. Read the room, Tom. It's not a good time. But if you are a member of the five, clearly you don't have any respect for anyone. We get that from when the meeting first begins. The general is introduced as general, and all three of the guys are like, Gil, can I call you Gil? He's like, you can call me General. And he's like, I'm gonna call you Gil. How you doing, Gil? Nice to meet you, Gil. And it's like, well, he just said his name is General. He likes to be called General. And it's like, hey, Gil, my name's Andy. You call me Andy, I'll call you Gil. And it's like, no, you call me General, I'll call you Andy, and you call me General. And it's like, no problem, Gil. Listen, You know how I know he was a movie general? I feel like a real general would have shot him.
Well, I think it's supposed to sort of like illustrate the power of corporations
Yeah,
over the
how
government.
sinister they are.
Yeah, well, just how much more power they have than a general, right?
Yeah,
If you can shit on a general, then you don't really, you know,
yeah, he's their
you're not
janitor.
really accountable for anything.
Right, yeah, he's their janitor. He cleans up their shit literally.
Yeah.
Like he's the
So,
one who orders all of the nastier parts of their power at this point. So yeah, no, I
mhm.
understood exactly. That's what that was. They are the tyrants that are spoken of. So yeah, General Dylan Beck goes on. He gives his speech, and he lets the general public know what's been going on or what is being planned. And his only hope is to push it back 20, 30 years. He knows he can't stop it. Um, But Dylan Beck goes on and he tells people that they wanted him to be like Mussolini, that they killed his friends Meekins. Now his life is on the line. They actually tried to assassinate him mid speech, and he's saved by Harold and Valerie. Um, as the killer falls from the rafters and survives, then he gets up talking. I think that's in German.
Oh no, he said "Sic semper tyrannis," which
Six-
is what John Wilkes Booth said to Abraham Lincoln when he assassinated him. It's
Oh
Latin.
shit! Is
I think
Latin
"Sic semper
for
tyrannis" is something always
thus
tyrannical.
always to tyrants.
What's it?
Thus always to
Thus,
tyrants.
always to tyrants. Yeah.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. Basically, accusing him of being a part of a tyrannical government.
Hmm.
Um.
Or
That
just
is interesting. I never heard what
uh,
John Wilkes Booth said that to Lincoln. Makes me wonder, what am I
oh
missing?
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's a very popular sort of line. Yeah, I mean, I guess it's he's the General Dylan Beck is sort of subverting the populist quote unquote fascist movement, and so yes, the assassin would think that he's being tyrannical and by discouraging the fascism. I guess I
That's
don't know.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here learning real life stuff from these movies, or at least this
Hmm.
particular movie. But again, it is saturated in a few scattered facts. But yeah, he goes on to name Tom Bowes directly, and you would think that because the guy who's trying to kill the general in broad daylight names a guy that you automatically realize like, oh, he's involved, and he's now identified as the guy who killed the girl and possibly killed the guy under this guy's name. But money makes the world go round, people, and shamelessly, shamelessly, Tom admits to all of it and doesn't care. He
No.
admits to drugging his sister, drugging his mama, taking over, and he says, It had to be done. None of you were willing to do what it takes to change the world."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very strong Rami Malik face going on.
Always.
Um, yeah, and if he's a member of the five, then he doesn't even care about the repercussions because there will be
Because
none.
there won't, yeah, there are none. They run
Yeah.
enough of the world already, and if they didn't, they wouldn't have already tried to do this. What I
Mhm.
did think was interesting was that tincture that they shared with Bert by dropping it into their eyes, which gets
Mhm.
right into the nervous system immediately. Um, and whoa, the way Bert was basically able to start moving around like a normal person until it got him so high he was incapacitated. Um, and it's essentially had no effect. It seemed like on Tom and Libby, which means
Well,
damn.
those are seasoned drug users right there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Oh
they know
yeah.
how to handle their drugs.
I
Yeah,
was
I
like,
don't know what
wow.
I don't know what the drops would be, but um,
I'm thinking
I don't know if
ketamine.
there's anything that you could really like put into your eyeball except for maybe LSD, but I don't
Oh
think
yeah,
that
liquid
they're putting
LSD.
LSD in their eyes. So
I mean, it's from Munich, man. It's the latest craze.
yeah, I don't know what it would have been to be honest. It
It's
could be
clear.
like
It's probably
it
just
could be
clear eyes.
amphetamine actually,
Hmm.
because the Nazis were very big on amphetamine. And
Ah,
so it could be liquid amphetamine that you put into your eyeballs. Yeah.
So it was clear eyes, maximum strength,
Very clear. Yeah. Yeah.
very clear eyes. Um. So yeah, at this point we get Bert and he's narrating, connecting all the dots for you through the screen, and we now see that Dylan Beck's involvement, as I said a moment ago, Dylan Beck was hoping that his involvement would stop the plot for at least 20 to 30 years maximum, because he knew he couldn't stop it indefinitely, but he wanted to give the American people a chance. And that's what he was hoping he was able to do. Valerie then dreams of shooting Tom and Libby in the face, but she doesn't because she understands that she can't. I wish she had of.
She would
I
just
mean,
get put in jail.
at least somebody gets some repercussions for their actions. Now nobody's in jail, and they still get to go and try to take over the world.
True.
I mean, talk about a cause.
Yeah, I thought the speech saved the world. I guess not, huh?
No, speech didn't save the world. We in
Mm.
2023. This happened in 1930, 40 something. I know it's not real, but you get.
Yeah. But
uh,
Harold and what's her name decide to go back to Amsterdam.
yes,
Well, not really. They're going
or
somewhere
they go
else.
somewhere. Yeah, at this
Yeah.
point, you can't go to Amsterdam because you got to run from the Gestapo, which
Yeah.
I think was a hint at what we were in the timeline of, like you were saying, the rise of
The
that
Nazi party.
regime. Yeah.
Yeah.
And where would they go at this point? That's the question, because everybody was kind of
South
on the fence.
America.
Maybe.
South America would have been fine until after World War II. Then don't go to Argentina because,
That's where they went.
Yeah, that's where they went. Yep.
I mean, I don't
Yep.
think that's a secret, right?
No. It's a very well documented. They have
Yeah.
towns. They
They
have
got
towns
kids
of
that done
old
done
Germans.
documentaries about it. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
this where Papa went. I got all this
Hmm.
stuff here. I don't want it. Somebody come get it. It's like, yo, hey, get off the internet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
All right. But yeah, so yeah, as Nick just said, the rich go free, and McGuire is dead because he knew too much. Harold and Valerie are free to travel the world, and Bert leaves his wife and goes back to Irma. And that's pretty much everybody, because there's nobody else to really keep. Who cares what happened to Milton? I do, but they're not going to tell us.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. We know you could figure that Norcross and Canterbury go back to being, you know, military or secret agent men. And I think the most intriguing thing that this movie does tell you is at the very end, you find out that Robert De Niro's character, General Dylan Beck, has a real life synonymous person, or is a depiction of a real life person. That real life person is Major General Smedley Butler, who was a Marine and is the general who was in real life asked to basically do what this character was asked to do, lead so many veterans against the current government
Yeah.
regime to
Start a
take it out.
fascist party.
Crazy shit.
Yeah. I think he actually did it though, or did he not?
I So apparently from the homework I did, he was a part of the party to take him down. Something happened along the way, and what he decided was what they were doing was breaking the Constitution, and he was down to take Roosevelt out of office. That
Right.
he was okay with. It
Right.
was when he realized how far they had to go to break the Constitution, apparently, is when he was like, "Wait, that's violating the White House and the seat that you want me to sit in, and I won't do that." And I'm like, what?
I was now you get some morals, huh?
I'm still kind of confused, and that's why I keep saying through the episode it takes you down a rabbit hole, because I'm still kind of weeding it all out. And apparently, yeah, like there was a part of it he was okay with, but he is still the person. Smedley Butler is the person who ended up turning and going to, I guess, the other powers that be. I don't know who did he go to is the question, right? Which makes you think: did it not work? Did it happen or did it not?
Well,
Because who did he
maybe in
go?
another show we can have a conversation about Project Paperclip.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
yeah,
Because
Well,
Even you ain't your homework, and I'll tell you who we went
yeah,
to.
right, right. We're all led to believe that a certain group of people won the war in 1945, but
Microwaves.
we'll see. It's yet to be seen.
Oh yeah, but with that being said, we come to an end in this movie, and the film really culminates at the end. He gives his speech, and we are shown Smedley Butler, and then a montage of artistic like scenes that are acted out by the actors as their characters. I don't even think we see Milton anymore. We just see Valerie, Bert, and Harold. Um, I'm not. I guess this would be the first time in Amsterdam there was a B reel, and we get chops of that essentially.
Mhm.
Uh, with that being said, the movie is fin. It cuts. It hits the dead scenes. Again, I personally liked the movie. A bit everywhere. It is hand fed though. You won't be questioning what, why, and all of that. And then it gives you, in my opinion, the benefit of go ahead to YouTube, look up this person's name that they're going to give you at the end, which is General Smedley Butler. Find out what he knew and what he was a part of, and then you're going to sit on YouTube for the next couple of hours going, what? So yeah, that's the movie Amsterdam for me. What about you, Nick?
Yeah, man. I think it's a decent movie. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen. I think that the acting, for as many actors as are in this, I don't know if the acting is very remarkable. As I've said, the cinematography is very weak. Um, you have all of this opportunity to create stunning visuals, and you just don't do it. I'm very puzzled by that. Um, the dialogue is okay. I can't remember a lick of the music except for no, can't remember a lick of the music. Um, and yeah, the I don't know, the movie's okay. It's nothing great, but it's also like I don't dislike it. I like the parallels to some of the pseudo history that's in it. I think it's also a little bit
Antiquated.
oversimplified. I think it's a little bit oversimplified too. It's kind of like, everything gets wrapped up so easily, like you were saying. It holds your hand a little bit too much.
Yeah, it
Um,
doesn't want to offend anybody.
it doesn't want to offend anybody, but also just it's like there are no stakes here.
Yeah,
I never felt like this was a life or death situation. And what's funny is like I can deal with that
definitely
in
was
this.
though.
Well, I mean, it was, but it doesn't feel that way. That's
I
for
get you.
sure.
No, I agree with you.
Um,
You saying that made me have to say like no, but it was. But you're right. It doesn't feel like it. It
yeah,
feels fun.
yeah, it feels kind of like like three friends who stumbled on a plot to overthrow the
Take
government.
over the world.
Like, and I think that wasn't even really fleshed out enough. It was all very vague within terms of like, oh, this speech is going to be important because why? Because we need this general to be the guy that we put into the White House when we overthrow the government. I don't know.
Real quick, the numbers, the real life numbers on that was like the general was supposed to have, or the major general was supposed to have the support of like a 500,000 veterans behind them, and that was supposed to be enough to gain power. It's confusing. Like, huh?
Yeah, it's confusing. I think what it really is though is that there was probably a grassroots movement towards um the stuff that we talked about, the eugenics, the sterilization stuff, all of that really hardcore, what they used to call cutting edge science. Be careful, like we love to talk about how great technology is. Just remember, sterilization and
Was once.
lobotomies were a technology at one point. So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a
um
very true statement.
yeah.
Be very cautious.
Hmm.
But yeah, with that being said, let's get into our ratings. Neither of us hated it, so that's gonna be
No.
interesting when it comes to the numbers. For me, I personally don't think I can give this more than a 6. But I did like it, and I'm still not giving it a 6. I could give this about a 5 even. 4 or 5, 5 range, 4, 8. But I'll give it a 5, and I can be comfortable giving this a 5. I don't think it's a 6, but I think this would max out at a 6 or a 7. Not sure what it would have to do to blow my socks off. But even if this movie blew my socks off, it would still only hit a 7.
It
5.
might have been better as a drama.
I agree with that. If they didn't, I guess the style choice didn't seem comedic.
Yeah, which is very odd because I know what you're talking about when you say like comedic styling choice, but there's nothing funny about it.
No,
Which is very strange.
except they
But I
face.
get what you mean. It's kind of shot like it's supposed to be funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I'm right there with you, man. I think that this is a 5. It's unoffensive. It's fine. You might point at your TV screen like Leonardo DiCaprio when a cameo hits or something like that. You know what I mean? Like you might be like, "Oh, that's that person. Cool." Yeah. um, but aside from that, you're really not going to do a whole lot much more. The story doesn't really offer a lot. The namesake of the story doesn't really offer you a lot, except to be this sort of like idyllic place where they didn't have to deal with like
Racism.
racism. That's pretty much what it was, right?
Listen, when
Yeah.
I saw the name Amsterdam, I thought we were gonna get like a drug fueled,
Right.
fear of loathing, value
Yeah.
of food.
Yeah.
I really thought we were about to get into the weeds, and then
The
saw that it
rise
was
of
supposed to be
cocaine
set
and heroin in
right
Europe.
because I thought it was
Yeah.
supposed to be set in like the 30s. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, this is gonna get crazy. And then I saw they had actual good actors. I was like, oh, this is really gonna get crazy, and
Mm.
they saved the crazy.
It got very tame. It
Very.
got very tame. But yeah, it's a 5. It's not terrible. Again, the cinematography could have been way better. I think that the set pieces and the costume design was decent. I think that was nice. Music is I don't even remember. Um, Dialogue not good. So
Yeah, I can't say anything about the music because I don't even remember. There was music.
I don't know. There might have not been.
I remember more of Chris Rock's lines than I do whether or not there was music in this. I
Right.
mean, there was like I guess there was like ambient music, yeah,
Maybe. Again, I couldn't tell you.
perhaps. But with that being said, we give this a solid 5er. So yeah, this hits right in the middle of the scales, but as we've said in the past, anything around 5 is kind of decent. The average movie, in my opinion, is rated like a C-, which is really like a 4. So if you're above a 3.54, you're a good movie. It's worth watching, and I would say check this out. Um, but that's my take. Like, who am I? Who are we? We're just Screen Time Continuum here at you Wednesdays and Sundays, and we appreciate you guys for that. Um, I'm not sure if there's nothing else to say about this. I wanted more Mike Myers and Michael Shannon. That would have been great.
Yeah. Yeah. A little bit more of the spy stuff would have been interesting.
Hmm.
I would have
And
liked
those
that.
two as like your spy handlers. Oh, that just would have been
Hmm.
comedic bullshittery.
Yeah. I think the closest this movie gets to comedy is those two characters,
Yeah, and
where they're
neither
just
of
like,
them can crack jokes.
no, but they're like the idea that they're trying to pass themselves off as like businessmen when they're clearly just, spooks, you know?
Yeah, yes, yes. Hopefully, this works out to us.
And we make the finest glass in all of England. Yeah, sure you do.
Canterbury glass,
Sure you do.
everything except window glass,
Yeah.
unless of course it's bulletproof.
Right, right. And they can do
Um,
that.
yeah, and that's why I say it wasn't even Mike Myers funny because he would have slid a penis joke in that somehow.
Yeah, something. Um,
Why I don't know, but he does that.
mm,
Yeah, what am
crude
I talking
humor.
about? Yeah, I might say, what am I talking about? We're talking about the lack of funny, and that was the first thing I thought of. Is he would have put a penis joke? Yeah, so
Throw a dick joke in there.
right now I wonder why he would have done it because it's
Yeah,
funny.
that's
But
right.
yeah, with that, I have nothing else.
No, I think that's it, man.
Indeed. We appreciate you guys for hanging out here with us on the Screen Time Continuum. Be sure to round on out and come back here and check us out. Wednesdays, Sundays, Screen Time Continuum. You guys know what's up. Be sure to do us a favor if you are watching this and you can see your screen. Go ahead and check out that card. That card is going to have all of your current viewing times for all of your various days. You have Sundays and Wednesdays for the Screen Time Continuum. Mondays, oh, you get a day off. Look at that. Tuesdays, if numbers could talk. Thursdays and Tuesdays, Strawberries and Coffee and King of Ilion over on Twitch. Exofathom on Fridays, and This Merry Moment on Saturdays. Please be assured, go ahead, take that screenshot, send that screenshot to all your friends. And if you didn't get the screenshot, by all means, we'll always be here for you guys on the Screen Time Continuum. Check us out once again, Sundays and Wednesdays, giving you some new stuff, finding some stuff, some old stuff, some stuff you've seen, some stuff we've seen, who knows. But yeah, man, we appreciate y'all. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Oh, wait. I wonder why. I'm like, wait, why are we still here? I still see my face. Because I didn't say for the Screen Time Continuum.
That is true. You did not.
We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us for the Screen Time Continuum. My name is Keelan.
I'm Nick.
Thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. That's funny. You think I took a trip to Amsterdam?